Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strip Search, the comic strip podcast. I am Pete Chianca here with Dave London for our latest episode. We are into March of 2026. The winter is, well, it's still here, but its days are numbered. Isn't that right, Dave?
Is Marsh the one that's in like a lion, out like a lamb? I get that mixed up.
Yes, I believe that we're still in the lion part right now,
Right, right. Okay.
but
A little bit of a
lamb is
thaw.
coming.
Yeah,
Lamb is
good.
on the horizon. And it's a an interesting winter for us. We realized, I don't know about you, Dave, but I did not realize this until Facebook reminded me, which is how we find out about most things in life, that it was 10 years ago, actually, going a week or so ago now, that we started the comic strip Pet Peeves.
2016. I know, isn't that time flies?
It is.
And it came about because you and I have obviously been doing strips for many years, and we decided to try this strip because I like drawing animals. And I think that's how it came about, right? It was a family strip that we just turned them all into animal characters.
Right. It was early in 2016, and we thought there's going to be a ton of material once Hillary becomes president. And you know, uh, didn't quite
How did
work
how,
out that
how
way,
did that
but
work out for us? Yeah.
yeah, so we decided to give it a go, and it's been an interesting ride. We haven't, I thought the Pet Peeves movie would be in production by now, maybe a few more years on that.
Who would you cast as CJ?
That's hard. Who could be a convincing dog? I guess I'd go with Leonardo DiCaprio because he could pretty
Yeah,
much do anything.
yeah, I think so. Um,
Timothy Chalamet is probably a little too young.
so, but it's still going strong. Pet Peeves is out there. We've got five book collections, and we're working on a sixth book, which is a chapter novel with the Pet Peeves characters, which will be debuting later this month if all goes according to plan.
That's right. We've been cranking and it's almost ready. So we're very excited about that. Make sure to visit us at petpeevescomic.com or look us up on Substack, where we put out a little newsletter every couple of weeks to a month. And as soon as that is available for ordering, we will be sending something out on that. So come and follow us so you don't miss that. What else is going on, Dave? What has been on your
Well,
bookshelf lately?
it's not all about us. So it's, on the topic of books, I actually ordered a book recently. I'm going to read the name of it to get it correctly. It's How Comics Are Made: A Visual History from the Drawing Board to the Printed Page by Glenn Fleischman. So it's sort of a coffee table-ish type book, a hardcover, really nice hardcover, but very readable. Came out in uh, about maybe 9 months ago, June of 2025. And here's the tagline for it. It's a comprehensive exploration of comic strip production technology from hand-drawn art to digital creation, featuring rare archival images and interviews with famous cartoonists. Is that how you say it? Archival?
I believe
Archival?
so, yes.
But
That's
actually, it's a very
interesting.
fantastic book. It's a good, it's a very readable book. It's a full color, and it runs the gamut from the original days of, the old Gutenberg type press all through the modern digital era.
I mean, I feel like until digital became a viable alternative, did much change over the previous however many decades? Was it Bristol board and ink, basically for decades?
Ev- I think from the beginning of time, it was Bristow board, and I think the dipped pen was a big thing. I think markers sort of became maybe the in between where people didn't have to worry so much about spilling the ink, and some people would have like the archival markers that they would work with.
When
But
you started, it was a quill pen, right?
yeah, I think it was actually stone on stone back
Right,
when I
right. You
started. Right?
got the tablet going.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Yeah, and I love how a lot of these new books looking at the history of cartooning are these like really big, well-produced, coffee, like you said, coffee table style books. These are really, high quality images, and you get a real sense of how it's evolved over the years.
What do you have for us, Pete? We've talked
Well,
about
I
our
wanted to
books.
mention, so we will be talking in just a few minutes to a couple of our favorite people who are involved in the Ashland Library Young Artists Comic Fest, also known as ALYAC, where we will be later this month. But before we talk to them, I want to mention another event that we've been involved with for some time, and that's KidsCon New England. That's a fantastic program. They do two a year, one in Maine and one in New Hampshire, and it's the one in New Hampshire, Nashua, New Hampshire, to be precise. That is coming up Sunday, April 10th from 10 to 4 p.m. That's at the Sheraton in Nashua. And if you go to our website, petpeevescomic.com, you'll see a link for everything you need to know about that particular event. We'll be there with our pet peeve stuff, doing our pet peeves thing. But that's a great. We've talked about it many times, but that's a great one for families in particular. Lots of stuff for kids and particularly young kids and people in funny costumes and just a general good all around good time.
We can't say enough good things about the Kids Con New England event, that's for sure.
Yeah, they do an amazing job of planning that. I don't know how they do anything else because each of them look like it must have taken the entire 6 months to put together. There's a lot going on there. So yeah, I recommend definitely worth the ride. And we talked to a lot of people who were there who've come up from, Mass, Rhode Island, really all over the place. It's definitely worth the drive.
All over New England, in fact.
That is true. That's why it's called KidsCon New England. All right, but other than that, I think that is basically what we had to go over. We are very excited to talk about the ALYAC Fest, which, as we mentioned, is coming up soon. So we're going to take a very short break, and in 30 seconds, we will be back with our special guests. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, do you know someone in middle school who likes to read or who thinks they don't like to read but just haven't found the right book yet? Check out Freddy Peeves and the Scoop on the Sinking School, a middle grade journalism mystery featuring the characters from the Pet Peeves comic strip by London and Chianca. Available March 21st, 2026. For information, visit petpeevescomic.com. Hello, everybody. We are back with Strip Search, the comic strip podcast with me, Pete Chianca, and my co-host, Dave London. The topic of today's podcast is the second annual Ashland Library Young Artist Comics Fest, also known as the ALYAC Fest, coming to the Ashland, Massachusetts Public Library on Saturday, March 21st. And here to talk to us about it are two people who are intimately involved with the creation and the planning of this event. One, our old friend Meena Jain, past director of the Boston Kids Comic Fest and current director of the Ashland Public Library. And with her is Deanna, I'm going to say this very slowly so I could get it correctly, Soukiasian,
Perfect.
who's a cartoonist and currently an editor for Cosmic Lion Productions and BCAF, and is going to be working with the young artists at this year's fest. Welcome both of you to Strip Search.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure as always. So for people the unfortunate folks who for some reason missed last year's, maybe Meena, this is a good place for you to start. Can you tell us just a little bit about the fest? Who's it for, and what could people expect if they go?
Sure. We were really excited to do the first one. As you had mentioned earlier, I was the director of the Boston Kids Comics Fest for 5 years. And the part of it I loved the most was the young artists. We would have kids 8 to 18 selling their own comics at that event. And it was always so much fun. Like they didn't have another place to do that. So when the Boston Kids Comics Fest started to take a hiatus and I had stopped being the director, I really wanted to bring that back to our communities. And so that's how ALYAC was sort of born, with my staff and I talking about how can we do that. And so last year we had our first festival. We had like 500 people. We had, I don't know, Deanna, about 30 kids selling comics.
Yeah, about 30 kids throughout the day who came and tabled with us.
Yeah, and they just loved it. And I can't tell you how many people came up to me afterwards or during and just saying, "Oh my gosh, my kid wants to do this. Are you doing this again?" And so, of course, we have to do it again. We were also very lucky to have Jarrett Krzyzewska and John Patrick Green as our headliners last year, as well as just this wonderful variety of workshop leaders, including yourself, Peter and Dave.
And we very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I think that we just want to continue to be bigger and better. I was really very, very fortunate to be able to work with Boston Comics Arts Foundation to make sure that we are able to continue the quality that we really want. And so this year we are very excited to be welcoming Lincoln Peirce, the author of the Big Nate series, and Kayla Miller, who are going to be headlining this time, as well as just, again, a huge, wonderful variety of comic book creators to run workshops, hands-on workshops for all the kids.
So, Meena, you mentioned two of the new headliners this year. Anything else that's different or new this year compared to last year?
Yeah, I think we are, like doing the workshops. We have a food truck coming, trolley dogs. We have, like I said, all the Deanna is doing her thing. And then we're also having a publisher, IDW of comics, giving a sort of what to read next session. So for kids who are parents who are like, oh, my kid loves Big Nate, but doesn't know what else to read, we're going to have a short session for that. And, the bookseller, Tony Davis, is going to be there from Million Year Picnic offering books for all of our headliners and workshop leaders as well.
That's great. And would you say, like, I know last year it was a pretty wide variety of ages. What ages would you say are appropriate for attending?
For attending, I would say 5 and up, but for actually selling, we have made it 8 to 18. But we found so many kids coming in and bringing younger siblings, older siblings. It was such, as you said, such a wide variety of ages. And Deanna, would you agree with that? Like, we had like really a wide range of kids selling and bringing in relatives.
Yeah, we had, I think last year it ranged from about 8 to 18, 19. I think we had some, I like to say if you have teen in your age, you're still going to qualify with me. So yeah, we had a pretty wide age range, which was really nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, even in the little session that we did, it was you had very young kids who were really having a lot of fun, and but also some older teenagers who were really serious about it, and it was great to see that mix.
Yeah,
Um,
we love that.
Mhm.
I wanted before we get talk a little bit more about the fest, since Deanna, you're a first-time guest here on Strip Search, and you have a very impressive background. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about your own work and what you do and what you're working on right now.
Oh yeah, so I have kind of found myself wearing all of the hats in comics. I am trained as a cartoonist, an editor, but I also have kind of found myself on the education and nonprofit side of comics over the last few years since moving back to the Boston area. So I work for the Boston Comic Arts Foundation as their education coordinator. So I am the person who kind of sets up all of the Massachusetts Makes Comics programs for the youth in the area. And then I also teach comics for the youth at the Elliott School in Jamaica Plain. But for myself, I'm actually about to finish my debut graphic novel. I'm right before we hopped on, I was penciling out the last 6 pages. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Oh, I think we'll need to have you back when that comes out.
Can you give
I
us,
hope so.
a little promo? Can you give us the 30-second
Ooh,
elevator?
the 30. Oh, yeah. So it's an absurdist comic strip style book about these two characters, Existential Tree and his friend Conspiracy Bush. So there's a tree and a bush, and this story is their journey through grief as adults and the loss of a friend, and how that affects your relationships with the people around you and yourself, and kind of working through that. So it's not all a gut punch. There's some levity. There might be an alien abduction in there. So that's kind of what it's about. I don't want to ruin the whole,
That's right.
guys.
Yeah, no,
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 that was perfect.
that's perfect. So, all right, so let's bring it back to the fest. So Deanna, so tell us, you will be working with the young artists at the
Mhm.
young artist tables, is our understanding. So, can you talk about how that works? What will people see when they come to the young artist room?
Yeah, so that will be in the main kind of part of the library, adjacent to where we have more of our professional friends who will be selling, our booksellers, Tony, and all of our adult guests. So we will have a room with all these tables lined up, and then each of the kiddos are able to set up their own convention kind of table. So if they have signage, tablecloths, merchandise, however they would like to decorate their spots, they will be welcome to do that. And they'll all kind of be lined up both sides of the room, which I believe we're going to have it the same layout as last year.
Yeah. And the great thing about the space is that we haven't had to limit the number of kids because we just add another table. We really have no problem having the kids because that's really the focus. So we want to make sure that the kids that want a table can.
I hate discouraging the young artists and telling them no. We had even younger artists applying, and I don't want to say no. I want everybody to be able to participate, and it's not that serious. So we can make room. So I love to be able to say yes to them.
So you have your lineup set of young artists now.
Yes, we I think we're gonna be closing the application closer to the date, but we are almost filled. We're filled up for the first half of the day, so we still have spaces for the last few hours, but it's quickly filling up. We have almost 30 young artists so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they're all doing this, I remember seeing it from last year, but they're making copies and stapling things together. And I mean, this is a real like hands-on uh, process for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very DIY. It's the spirit of underground comics making. And I've talked with Meena. My very first experience with cartooning was at my own public library doing workshops with a local cartoonist. So I think this is a great way to introduce those young artists to comics and that kind of DIY process where you don't have to be a professional right off the bat. You can go to your library, use the copier, use the staplers. They have the materials. And I think it's an awesome jumping off point for a lot of young folks.
That segues well into the next question I had, which is something, Mina, we've talked with you about before, but I feel like it's always worth bringing up. Why are events like this important? Why is it necessary to have this kind of outlet, particularly for younger people, particularly in terms of comics and comic strips and that type of activity and media?
Um, my answer changes every year, I think, of why we have to do this. I mean, the bottom line is we want a place for kids to feel welcome and included. And I feel like a lot of kids who are making comics, are the outsiders. They're not necessarily the football players and the soccer players and the brainiacs and the things like that. They're artists, and I am not an artist. I can plan the details out of anything, but I can't draw for anything. But I know that kids that draw tend to feel very left out of society, acceptance, inclusion, things like that, because they're creative. They think differently than I do because they have this skill. And I want them to have a place where their skill is valued and monetarily uh, valued as well. So I had a word in my head, but it completely fell out of it. But like, if they can make money off of something that they thought they were just doodling around, like if you ever talked to Jared Krzyzewska about how he started and how his teachers were not welcome, like not favorable to him drawing, or Dav Pilkey or Raina Telgemeier, they were not accepted. They were on the outskirts, and I feel like this is an opportunity for us to make sure that those kids find their tribe.
That's awesome.
So, Dean, I want to jump back. You talked about the new graphic novel coming out, and you obviously have a whole history of artwork. I see for those of the folks who are listening and on visual and the behind you, there's a lot of art. Is that your art, or is that art you've collected?
Ooh, I have a few things that are little things that I've drawn. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see. I was doing a little drawing challenge to draw all the characters from ElfQuest because I'm a really big ElfQuest fan. But then the rest are all pieces from artists I love or my friends who are artists and just stuff that I have Yu-Gi-Oh cards up there. I have Pokemon cards. I have a little bit of everything. So yeah, this is all mostly work from my friends. Like I have Shadia Amin over there. I have Andy Gordon in a few places. Just some silly stuff that I really enjoy having around and really inspires me.
So your own work, can you talk about this is, and I flagged this earlier. I said I was going to ask you about the tools and techniques. So
Yeah.
just really granular, talk to our listeners who are really interested in the artist tools, what you use, whether it's traditional or digital or both, and the development of your process.
Yeah, so I am a very, very traditional artist. I think for most artists are going to tell you that they started out traditionally because that stuff is the most accessible to everybody. There's nothing more accessible than paper and a pencil, right? That is just something that I have felt very comfortable with my whole life. So I work traditionally, my go-to material is actually I think this is the Canson comic strip board. So this is my go-to. And then I use a lot of ink, a lot of the fine liners, that kind of stuff. And that's really it. I work pretty much in black and white with a ink wash, so I'll use my little my little inkwell, but I keep it pretty minimal. And then I do my lettering digitally, just because by the time I'm done with my comics, I can't do any more of the draw. That's tough for me. So I digitally letter.
I'm a digital letter as well. Is it your handwritten letters that you converted to digital, or do you use a particular font?
Sometimes I do have a few fonts that are of my own handwriting, but it depends. With this book and the characters, I've kind of gone through different iterations of using my own handwriting and then other fonts, but I'm currently in a stage where I may be looking at some new fonts or creating some new fonts for this one. So it's a mix for sure.
And just to ask the question, what program do you like to put your lettering in?
So I think that's hard. I'm not the best letterer. I use Procreate, which isn't inherently made for lettering, but I use my iPad and I just find that the most the easiest interface for me to kind of work with. But I am a big fan of Clip Studio. I think that's probably the way to go for other artists if you're gonna letter digitally. Clip is great for that. I know people use Illustrator as well, but that one is a little tough for me.
I'm a Procreate person myself, so
You know.
I know.
That's awesome. And I have to say that was a real blast from the past when you mentioned ElfQuest because I read that in the 80s. It's
I,
going
I
back.
I love ElfQuest very much. I think Wendy Pini is one of the
Mm.
greatest kind of sci-fi fairy tale artists of all time. And I'm actually whenever I go to a show and her husband are there, I'm too nervous to say hi. I hear they're the nicest people in the world, but I'm like, she drew ElfQuest. I can't talk. She's so famous. She's so good. So I do love ElfQuest.
I still have, unfortunately, a lot of the comic books I read as a child have disappeared into the ether. But I do have a few boxes that survived my parents' attic and a bunch of old ElfQuest. And at least one or two, they put a bunch in a book, I remember way back when. And I have a couple of those too. I'm gonna have to dig them out now that you've brought it up.
Oh yeah, ElfQuest is great. Not to go on a whole ElfQuest tangent, but that's also an IP that they have pretty consistently been not rebranding, but putting into Treasury series, so other generations can kind of
Mhm.
enjoy. There's so much of it, and it's one of those properties where it's like I want to jump in. Where do I start? So I think is it Dark Horse might own the rights to
Mm.
it currently, and they keep putting out the anthologies of it and the treasuries of it. So if you're a new reader for ElfQuest, those are a great place to start.
Excellent. All right, so before we go, what else do people need to know about ALYAC? Where can they find more information? What do you want to tell folks who might be interested in coming down?
Sure. You can find information about everything, the schedule, the headliners, the workshop leaders, everything on our Ashland Public Library website calendar. You can also find it on the ALYAC page of Boston Comics Arts Foundation. And, all of the information is there. We do ask for people to register just so that we have a sense of how many people are coming. We they can certainly call us, they can email us if they have any questions. We are sending out newsletters and, promoting it like crazy. And so there's information out there all across the virtual world.
And there's plenty of parking. Make sure you let everyone know there's plenty of
That's
parking.
right. There's plenty of free parking right across the street. And as I mentioned, because I'm a huge fan of trolley dogs, we will have food to purchase for lunch. And last year we had this ALYAC in July. So we have made more spaces for people to eat inside if the weather's bad, although I've been hearing it's supposed to get better. So knock on wood, there's that. But also we're very pleased once again to have donations of food and drink from Whole Foods for all the attendees because, kids need a little snack. I just want to make sure that they can keep
Not
on.
just kids, Meena, not just kids.
Yes, the visiting cartoonists also need snacks.
I know. But the thing is that I heard from so many parents last year, we were going to come for an hour and we've been here all day. So we want to make sure that kids can stay hydrated and not have go out hangry because they want to be there. So we're setting it up so that for them to succeed for the entire day if they choose to stay.
Excellent. Well, thank you, both of you, so much for coming on to talk about this. We will have the links also at our website, petpeevescomic.com/podcast. We'll have the links back, some examples of some stuff you're going to see down there. And we've been mentioning it consistently in our Substack, which you should all subscribe to so that you get all the information when you need it. And we will see all of you at ALYAC in just a few weeks. Thank you again, and we will be back with another episode of Strip Search, the Comic Strip Podcast, next month. Talk to you later, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.